Today on Positive Spin, on today's program we'll present the UN Refugee Organization's Global Trends Report. And we'll learn about the plight of the world's 10 million refugees. Then we'll hear how we can join the global campaign for women. After that, we'll see why we need to act to end violence against women. Finally, we'll hear the music of the Resistance Chorus.
Numbers can be overwhelming, and 110 million can be hard to imagine. Let's start by counting to 3. 1.
اسمع أنا هذه اللي بتد أنت على بعد عيسى ما هم كانوا تقولون ضدها وتقحيت أنت قحنت على بوسو كارنا.
2.
والله we can think about this minute now. Alhamdulillah, we are on the safe side. For tomorrow, we don't know what's going to happen.
3.
Плануєш, а воно вже й з кожним днем руки опускаються. Але ж мріємо.
3 people out of millions. We need to talk about why these numbers matter. This is Global Trends. In 2022, the number of people forced to flee climbed to 108 million. The increase was driven by the war in Ukraine.
I have worked in refugee crisis for almost 40 years, and I have rarely seen such an incredibly fast rising exodus of people.
Today, just 6 months into 2023, a further 2 million people have been displaced by war, violence, and persecution. The ongoing conflict in Sudan is impacting the numbers. Fighting broke out on April 15 in Khartoum and spread across the country. The attacks sparked a massive exodus of people within Sudan and across borders.
صايدات الجيران مرقنا ولا هم ولا شنو داك ما بقدر إلا في راسي شلت ما مرقتها يلا ويدين ده كله دفقتها ليت مرقتها كيال ناس مرق ليزا.
Aujourd'hui, nous sommes à Gungur. Ici, il y a plus de 10 000 Soudanais qui ont traversé la frontière pour venir chercher refuge en terre tchadienne.
But Sudan and Ukraine are only some of the most recent emergencies.
Syria has been in crisis for more than 12 years, resulting in the highest number of refugees worldwide, followed by Ukraine, Afghanistan, and South Sudan. Refugees cross borders, seeking safety and protection. The vast majority have fled to neighboring countries like Turkey, Iran, and Pakistan. They host the highest numbers of refugees. Germany has also been a generous host to asylum seekers from many parts of the world. And those who are displaced but do not cross borders are known as internally displaced people, a population that is sadly also on the rise. By the end of 2022, 62 million people had fled conflict but stayed in their own country, in countries like Ukraine, DRC, Somalia, and Burkina Faso. Almost half of those seeking safety are children. The rise in displacement, a growing climate emergency, and the rapid escalation of conflicts show that we are living in an increasingly unpredictable world.
Behind every statistic is an individual. As unfortunately our numbers show, year on year, the number of displacement is growing.
I spoke with UNHCR's chief statistician to learn more. Tariq, why are these figures important?
Statistics are the backbone of UNHCR's mandate. They were also a part of the 1951 Refugee Convention, believe it or not. The drafters of the Refugee Convention already thought in 1950-51 that statistics is an integral part of protection and assistance.
Tariq works with teams around the world, gathering and analyzing data on refugees, internally displaced, and stateless people.
To be very honest, I would love to phase myself out of this job, meaning one day the number will be at 0. Communities with the least resources, often themselves facing food insecurity,
the impact of climate change and the long-term effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, continue to keep their doors open. Easing pressures on host countries is crucial. The world needs to invest much more in finding solutions for everyone, refugees and the communities that welcome them.
Wakati watu walisikia, nikafungula dirisha hapa kunyumba, nikaanza kuuzisha kidogo kidogo, wateja wakaongezeka. Kuna kitu unaweza kujikaza mwenyewe kama baba wa familia, kama gisi ulikuwa unajikaza nyumbani, unapaswa kujikaza, kuna vitu unaweza kutafuta.
He cambiado demasiado mi forma de pensar en este trabajo, me ayudó bastante a ver que la vida también puede ser justa y sé que lo que yo hago es importante, no solo para mí, sino para beneficio de todos.
With political and societal commitment, conflicts can end. People can return home and rebuild their lives. 5.7 million internally displaced people and over 330,000 refugees went back home in 2022. Over 100,000 were resettled to a new country. These are not just numbers. These are people like you and me, with hopes and dreams for a better future. And that's why the numbers matter. If you want to know more about global trends in displacement, go to unhcr.org/global trends. You can also like, share this video, and subscribe to UNHCR to keep yourself and others informed. If you are a refugee and need help, or you want to find out how you can help people forced to flee, please follow the links in the description.
USA for UNHCR was founded by concerned Americans who really wanted to ensure bilateral support for UNHCR's funding. We were founded to ensure that every refugee receives help in terms of life-saving assistance, hope in terms of preparing for resettlement through education and employment opportunities, and home. And that may not be their original home. It may be a new home in a new country. Our job is to raise awareness for the refugee cause, raise funds for the refugee cause, and really celebrate how much and how supportive Americans have been of refugees.
Gene Dewey was the Deputy High Commissioner, and he really came up with the concept with the support of Mark Vittert to raise private sector funds in the United States for UNHCR. Gene is an amazing human being. He's worked globally, really doing just amazing work to help human beings. And he saw this as an opportunity beyond government support for the private sector to help. And it was his concept, and he put it in play.
I joined the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, in 1986. The Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees, better known as the UN Refugee Agency, has a responsibility for providing assistance and protection, legal protection, for refugees around the world. There's always a desperate need for money. The needs are growing so fast and the resources are coming in never enough to meet the total need. Today, the outreach of USA for UNHCR is fantastic. And these are needs that have a human face on them. They are families that have had desperate situations, escaping terror, escaping crime, escaping violence, escaping persecution, and have had the benefit of the assistance and protection of the staff of UNHCR.
We are the fundraising partner, and we support their mission to protect refugees who've had to flee their homes with little to nothing more than the clothes on their back due to violence, conflict, and persecution.
The purpose of the national counterpart is to raise awareness about refugees, to help people stand in the shoes of refugees to see what the need is, to recognize where the money comes from for refugees. It comes from their governments, most of it. But the governments are more likely to give when the people are behind it. So if the people know about it, governments tend to be more generous. And that's a huge role for USA for UNHCR and other national counterparts.
USA for UNHCR's mission is to provide refugees with hope, help them to restore their dignity, and help them to rebuild their lives.
USA for UNHCR's vision is a world without refugees.
Now, what does that mean? That sounds very big, very grand. But a world without refugees might mean that all refugees are accepted into a welcoming community. And we know that Americans feel that once refugees are resettled in their country, they're no longer refugees, they're Americans. They're people in our community. Most refugees just want to go home, and we try to help them do that wherever that's possible, but the reality is most refugees will end up settling in a new country, usually a host country, much closer to their home. We have a very bright future at USA for UNHCR. We've grown from an organization that was raising around $5 million in revenue for refugee programs at UNHCR to one that's on track to raise more than $100 million. Our future is one of really building out more programs and opportunities for Americans to engage with the cause. But most importantly, it's going to be the impact that we can point to that we've directly had on the lives of refugees around the world.
My name is Shazel Mahdi. I am from Sudan. Working in an active conflict is challenging on its own, with a large displacement for most of the activists all around the globe, including the neighboring countries, lacking resources, lacking connections, losing almost all the assets that they've gained over years in terms of establishing their own organizations is challenging. The great interest to stop the war in Sudan is actually the interests of the women themselves, because they are, as I said, they are the victims, they are the survivors. They are the ones who are taking most of the burden, not only because of them, but also because of their families. Most of them are no longer having access to very basic items like food, water, sanitation materials, even access to communicate with their families, access to internet, phone. It's very disastrous in Sudan right now. However, those women are pushing hard. As I said, unfortunately, the amount of attention that has been given to those women is still less than what it should be, not only from the local community, but also from the international actors. And I hope as we are pushing for the peace negotiation and peace processes, that those women will be taken into consideration. I think having a flexible fund like the WPH fund is really important, because it does provide this flexibility that they are looking for, and also it does means that you have some sort of adaptation mechanism that can respond to the changing and volatile situations we've had in Sudan. So a secure places that we have right now might not be the same tomorrow. And an access to bank account or the funding or paperwork might not be available tomorrow. And I think this is part of the conflict and the risk of us doing work during the conflict. And I'm glad that there is an organization within the UN system that does understand these dynamics. While investing in women, in the case of Sudan, is investing in the future of Sudan. So we need to figure out ways to invest in women and give them the platforms, the capacity, and the voice. And we see, I mean, these results might not be seen overnight. It will take time. But I'm sure investing in women means investing in the future of the country.
Around the world, women are facing a rising tide of threats. 1 in 3 women face physical or sexual violence at least once in their lifetime. Every hour, more than 5 women are killed by a family member. New forms of violence facilitated by technology are surging, and conflicts are intensifying violence against women and girls globally. Growing pushback against women's rights threatens to reverse hard-won progress, making the world even more dangerous for women. But there is hope. There is more evidence than ever before that violence against women is preventable. Women's organizations are at the forefront of progress, providing life-saving services to survivors, leading movements advocating for women's rights, and driving policy change. ACT is a new game-changing program funded by the European Union. By directly investing in feminist movements, strengthening intersectional alliances that unite women's rights activists across the world, coordinating a shared advocacy agenda to push forward against the backlash, ACT will amplify women's rights movements in their call for justice. It's time to act to end violence against women.
The Resistance Revival Chorus is made up of women and non-binary performers, educators, activists who wanted to explore their musical side, and musicians who wanted to explore the activist inside of them. All types of people who had one common goal in mind: breathe joy into the resistance and center the voices of people in the movement.
I teach ethics and I've taught literature and history and I sing. And so this felt like, oh, here's an opportunity to sort of marry all of these competencies and bring it to bear in something that feels really important and something that feels really pivotal. An ensemble that was singing for justice.
The Resistance Revival Chorus was co-founded by now manager Ginny Suss and others after their work organizing the original Women's March in January 2017.
They had been inspired by what they experienced at the Women's March. The words were in the streets and the signs were in the streets and the people were in the streets, but really wanting to ensure that the tradition of music was in the streets. I thought that was an amazing opportunity.
Our very first performance was a flash mob on Times Square, and we were all dressed in white, singing and clapping, and people didn't know what was happening, but we knew this was something that was bigger than us. And after that, it just took off. We performed at Carnegie Hall and at the Grammys, at lots of marches.
With over 60 members available to participate, the chorus combines performance tours with educational workshops and public actions in support of activists. They even produced a 2020 release, This Joy.
When the Resistance Revival Chorus started, it was such an exciting way for me to use my activist voice in a different way.
through music, and I've been singing my whole life. So that was really lovely to be able to work with the Desai Foundation and also the Resistance Revival Chorus to feel like I'm giving people a voice that don't have one.
As the Girls Club, we often have amplifying events around social justice hosted in this space. We've had everyone from Michelle Obama to Stacey Abrams to Colin Kaepernick in this very room, actually. And there was an event here where Jenny Suss was in attendance, and I said, I love the chorus. I just want to be involved. And she's like, come. It's been such an incredible blessing to be able to express the work that I'm doing on the day-to-day in a creative capacity, and especially when you're actually really trying to uplift young people in doing the work. So it's great to be able to do the work myself in community with other amazing women.
So let's just sing all the way through the first part. Wherever we go, how do we bring together community to be able to celebrate in the moments of joy that we experience and to be able to mourn and grieve the indignities, the inequities that people face? That's what we're doing. We're not showing up at a venue to do a show, right? We're showing up wherever we've been asked to come to bring communities together.
If you find the eye of the storm,
they used to host nights like Resistance Revival nights where they would invite guest artists to come and perform with them, and was just so in love with everyone that I met that I was like, can I join? The song is really just an invitation for individuals, especially if they come from an underrepresented or marginalized community in this country. I just wrote this as an encouragement for people to just find a light, shine that light, share that light, and create more balance in this country.
They are filled with tremendous, beautiful energy and joy in their singing. It's not only the music, but it's the joy of bringing that message. The link between music and activism, which is such a strong historical link.
How can music be used for activism and to promote social justice?
For special events like this one, we will do a panel. This is a community that's very invested in social justice issues. So when I came across the Resistance Revival Chorus, I thought this might be a great way to serve our community better.
That we can use music, and we should use music to teach and to inspire.
I've been on panels and people is like, why you keep talking about that racism thing? Can't you talk about something else? And I'm like, sorry, I can't. But a song allows people to hear something different. So I think there's this beautiful thing of music and having people beginning to hear. And I just wanted to say the folks who are on the other side singing that or hearing that, who are experiencing the oppression, it is still painful even in the claps and the applause at the end.
say her name.
When Abby Dobson breathes that first breath of Say Her Name, we all hold hands and just think about the message, and it pretty much takes my breath away.
Tatiana Jefferson.
Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland.
Breonna
It
Taylor.
really is
Breonna
a
Taylor.
call out to freedom. These women have become our ancestors now,
Ayanna
and
Stanton.
we owe it to them to continue to fight for freedom.
It's a long road to walk.
When you see other women do things, it gives you just the motivation to try things yourself. There are women who have become my mentors without even knowing it.
To carry on. I don't know if you'll be there, but I hope we've come to.
The movement of human rights, civil rights, has been going on long before I've been on this planet. And I can reach out and touch it. There was a time my grandmother couldn't vote, and now I'm going to the polls with her.
My father marched in the March on Washington with Martin Luther King. And in the song, I Hope, I just needed to express that at the point in which you get tired, someone else will continue it for you and to continue to encourage each other because it's working and we need it so badly.
I mean, it's a really important word, isn't it? Just off the top of my head, I think peace is when we allow people to be who they are, and we don't fight them about it. We're all here on the planet together, and too often we don't allow people. We have prejudices and things like that. So peace is a beautiful word, and I think again, if we just need to be to relax and allow people to be who they are, and not fight in any way. Because everybody has a different way of being peaceful, and a different way of living, and there's not one way to live a life or anything. There are many, many ways, and so it's just respect for each other.
Thank you for watching Positive Spin. This show was made possible through the generosity of the Patty and Jack Wright Foundation and the Prem Rawat Foundation. Watch us on Free Speech TV. Watch and subscribe to our previous episodes on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and all our other online platforms. I'm Bill McCarthy. Stay safe and healthy, and remember, everyone can create their own positive news.